Hey, I'm Alex Rackle from Board Game Co, and today we're talking about Gencon. Specifically, this is going to be a list of 20 games you can buy at Gencon. And make no mistake, you can buy like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games at Gencon, but these specifically are 20 games that I think are pretty cool, that I'm going to talk about. Some of them I've played, some of them I haven't, but in all cases, these are listed for sale at Gencon. And when I say listed for sale, I'll have links down below, but right now I'm looking at Board Game Geek's list of the Gencon 2024 preview, where they currently have 368 titles, and trust me, over the next few weeks that number will grow, but they currently have 368 titles. I've gone ahead to the filters over here and specifically filtered that. Let's see, pop this up over here. Let's see if you can see it. There you go. You can't see it, it's not on the screen over here. There's filters over here. If you click that little filter button, you can go ahead and select a variety of filters from player count to game length to all those types of things, including whether a game is available for sale or for a demo. This video is going to be 20 games you can buy at Gencon. 20 games that you can buy, and all of them I'm excited about, either because I already have liked and played them, or I'm interested in them selfishly, but they're all roughly ranked in order of excitement, although it's hard to gauge because a game I haven't played is, in a weird way, is always a little more exciting than the game I have played, even if they're already... Either way, roughly ranked lists. Here's 20 game selections for you. I'll be doing at least one more videos of this, of the 20 games you can demo at Gencon that I recommend, that aren't necessarily available for sale, but you can demo them. And I may end up doing a third when we get into the final days, just because to catch all the things I wasn't able to get in the first time rounds because they were added, or just because, well, I'm limiting this to 20. I've already had to cut things off. But anyways, with that, let's go ahead and dive into this. If you are at Gencon, I mean, if you haven't gone to Gencon, Gencon is an experience. 70,000, 80,000 people there across a few days in Indianapolis and Indiana. It is a real experience. There's a ton of things to do there. Anything from painting miniatures to games to RPGs to who knows what. I'm losing track. We're going to dive into the games. Starting off with my number 1, which is my number 20, I guess, over here, which is going to be Undaunted 2200 Callisto. Undaunted is a series I've always enjoyed, but I've never been pulled in by the theme of it. It's a World War II theme game. It's designed by Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson. They've done the War Chest series. They've done, well, they also did the one from, what's it called? Oh my gosh, the publisher, who's probably not getting the game. I don't know the situation. I'm losing sight of this. The people who did Street Masters, Blacklist Games, they have that other game as well, the horror series and whatnot. But anyways, the point is, this is a deck building game, which you're going to be building up your armies and attacking each other across this skirmish and scenario and all that stuff. It's a combination of skirmish and deck building. It is a well-loved series, and I've always appreciated the series, but I've never been pulled in by it enough, partially because of the fact that I don't like World War II themes. And so Undaunted 2200, giving you the opportunity to dive into a game system that is already well-loved, but giving it a theme that is much more appealing to me. Space and fantasy is so much more appealing to me than modern day combat, or semi-modern day combat. But either way, Undaunted 2200 Callisto, if you like the Undaunted series, this is something you should be interested in. If you don't like the Undaunted series because of the theme, this is something you should be interested in. And if you don't like the mechanics of the Undaunted series, this probably isn't going to change your mind. Moving on over here, we have Rock Hard 1977 from Devere Games. Rock Hard is them leaning into, well, a musical theme and on top of a heavy euro, which I think is always a tough sell to do. Most games that have leaned on musical themes, it hasn't been as popular as many other themes can be, and, well, we'll see how this one does, but the cover looks great. It's from Devere Games, it has a great reputation, so if anyone has a chance to making a music-themed game really stand out in the crowd, this is going to be one of them. This is going to be one of those opportunities or whatnot. I've had a chance to see this one at Gamma, get a brief overview of how the game plays, and it does look pretty cool. Then again, most things Devere puts out is pretty cool. From there we have Rebel Princess Deluxe Edition, coming to you from Bezier Games. This is a game that was available. I believe they took, there was a Rebel Princess version. They took on this game, they tweaked it, adjusted it. It's based on the original edition of Rebel Princess and whatnot. But this is a trick-taking game that the art looks adorable, the production looks great, looks fairly compelling. I had a chance to just see this one at Origins Game Fair, and it's going to be available for sale at Gencon. As will Endeavor Deep Sea from Burnt Island Games. If you are trying to get your hands on Endeavor and you missed out on the crowdfunding campaign, this is going to be a chance to get in on what is effectively the redone version of the original Endeavor Age of Sail. Endeavor Age of Sail is a very popular game that has gone through a few printings, or two printings, not a few, two printings, gone through two printings, but it's a game that's going to have you going through a degree of action selection and building up your tableau in a very satisfying puzzle, and Endeavor Deep Sea was just as satisfying, if not more so. I think mechanically it is a bit more satisfying. Theme-wise, I prefer Endeavor Age of Sail more than the nautical discovery, but I do love this game, going down into the ocean, trying to figure out your pathway forward, trying to gather as many actions as possible across this 6 rounds of play. It was an excellent game, and I'm very excited to dive into the final version of it. We also have Confusing Lands over here, coming to you from Envy Born Games. Confusing Lands, the game I've talked about a lot. I actually just bought a second copy at Origins, because my first copy was stolen by somebody, not actually stolen, someone took it, but they took it with reluctant permission. But Confusing Lands, it's a great small box game. If you're looking for something that's very travel friendly, that you can play solo, you can play 2 players, try to figure out your optimal scoring puzzle, this is one of my favorite games in that genre. It's right up there with Sprawlopolis, with what's the other, Circle the Wagons, in terms of giving you Circle the Wagons being more 2 players, Sprawlopolis being more solo. But honestly, if you like games like that, Sprawlopolis or Circle the Wagons, then Confusing Lands is very much one that you should check out. It is exactly playing to the same audience, the same genre, and I think it does an excellent job. I hope they continue to expand this one, because frankly, I want more cards and scoring objectives, because if you play this one too much, you will get better at the things. But I really like Confusing Lands, highly recommend checking it out. There's also Nekojima. Nekojima is picked up by Hachette. This is going to be a dexterity game where it's based on power lines and cats, and you're trying to stack these little power lines while making sure you get everything lined up as you build this increasing stacking tower, and then occasionally have to dangle cats on there and hope that everything goes well for you. This is a game that was it was on crowdfunding. It did fairly well. When it was received, it definitely had that table presence. Hachette picked it up, and I believe it's going to be their big Gencon release, so if you wanted a chance to check this one out, definitely try to get your hands on that one quickly before they sell out. There's also Slay the Spire. If you missed getting your hands on Slay the Spire, this one will be available at Gen Con. I'm not sure if they're going to have the deluxe Kickstarter versions or if it's just retail versions, but either way, this is a game that's worth checking out. Slay the Spire is fantastic. You can see over there the 8.9 in terms of the ratings, already in the top 1,000 on BGG, and I think that'll only continue to climb. This is based and built upon everything that made Slay the Spire great, and they did an excellent job with the execution. As usual, disclaimers and stuff, not disclaimer, but note that this is an expensive game. If you are perfectly content playing Slay the Spire on your computer and you fall into the camp of being like, well, why would I ever play this? Maybe don't. You don't have to play this. You don't have to spend $100 on getting a game that you're already content with the $15 computer version that will avoid some of these setup or tear down things you'll find in a physical tabletop version. But if you're the kind of person who thinks, I love Slay the Spire, and this is a tabletop version of it, then you are the target audience, and I think this will deliver for you. There's also going to be Comic Hunters, which is a game that has been a game that, despite the 2020 date on this is exciting news that is going to be finally available at Gen Con to go ahead and pick up and buy, because this has been a game that's been historically very, very hard to track down. I believe Arcane Wonders worked together with the publisher as well as together with Spin Master and Dice Tower to give it the Dice Tower Essentials line with the Marvel theme that they need rights from Spin Master, but Arcane Wonders that they need for the Dice Tower Essentials line kind of conversation. And this is a mix of different publishers all working together, and of course obviously the original publishers as well. This is a mix of different publishers working together to bring this game to your table. This is a comic collecting game that's gotten a lot of praise and very hard to get your hands on, but now through that combination of Arcane Wonders, Dice Tower, the original publishers, and Spin Master, now you have an opportunity to go ahead and pick this one up and add it to your library. There's also going to be Cascadia Rolling Rivers, as well as Cascadia Rolling Hills 2. I'm just picking one to show on the screen over here, but Cascadia Rolling Rivers is going to be the roll and write version of Cascadia, and I do think it's worth adding to your collection if you like roll and write games. Honestly, whether you like Cascadia or not is a little less important. I think from all the maps, there's one map that leans a bit into how Cascadia actually plays, but realistically, the target audience for this, to me, is someone who enjoys roll and write games. If you like Cascadia, you may not like this game. If you don't like Cascadia, you may still like this game, but I think if you like roll and writes, there's a decent chance you'll like this game. I think roll and writes in general come in 2 main categories. At least for myself, they come in 2 main categories. Those that have cascading bonuses where things just keep cascading, and those of you just trying to get things done. This is a little bit more of the latter, but the sheer variety of the experience keeps it interesting between the different maps. If you play Cascadia Rolling Hills, Rolling Rivers, there's going to be different maps, different components, different bonus cards that you can go ahead and mix together in different ways to give you like, endgame scoring or things like that. Overall, an incredibly satisfying experience. This was one of those prototypes that I continue to dive into. I actually had to send this one on, and I was sad to do so, although I just got my copies back today, so I'm excited about that, and that's basically going to be Cascadia Rolling Rivers. Moving on over here, we have Yokohama. Yokohama is going to be a reprint version of the game coming to you from well, it was from Taishu Minstrel originally. I don't know who the new publisher is, maybe Okazu, but either way, Yokohama is going to be a very tight game of trying to basically place your workers on different cards as you build out this grid and try to get the cascading benefits, the stronger benefits, by placing various houses down on the cards. It's a game I only had a chance to play a long time ago, but I've always enjoyed it and I always wanted to return to it, and this new version of it might be a good way to return to the game. We have Foundations of Metropolis coming to you from Arcane Wonders again. Foundations of Metropolis is going to be giving you the Foundations of Rome experience, but in in a much smaller box, effectively. A much cheaper box, I should say, as well. It's giving you the same gameplay. I believe it's exactly the same gameplay, but it's doing so while giving you tiles, actual polyominoes, instead of giant miniatures. That makes the game much more affordable, much easier to lug around. For me, I might own both Foundations of Rome and Foundations of Metropolis because, frankly, Foundations of Rome is great, but I don't bring it to game nights. It's a little crazy, despite the incredibly fast setup, the incredibly fast teardown, the incredible gameplay. It's a game that I'm like, we can play it at my house. We don't need to go ahead and take that giant box your way. Although Foundations of Metropolis might be worth owning so that I do have that travel possibility, the ability to play that great gameplay, but at another location. So this might be one of those few times that I actually choose to own two different versions of a game. We'll see, I don't know for sure. We have Stonespine Architects coming to you from Thunderworks Games. This one has been generally incredibly well received. I believe they sold out at Origins. It's generally been a game that people have liked, that fast gameplay as you draft various cards, build out your little dungeon kind of situation. Not really a dungeon, you build like the catacombs or whatever it is, the labyrinth as you go through it, trying to find the right scoring optimization in the game. It is a very fast playing game, very enjoyable drafting experience that gives you a lot of point scoring optimization. I believe designed from the designer of cartographers, and it leans into that same kind of target audience. I think this is one worth checking out if you like cartographers or if you generally like those point scoring optimization games in general. We have Cubitos over here. Cubitos Fowl Play. That's going to be the expansion to Cubitos, which I've waited way too long for. I still own and love Cubitos. It's a game that doesn't hit the table as often as I'd like, but it's a satisfying racing experience whenever it does. I've been incredibly excited for having this expansion eventually hit, well, wherever, and I'm excited to have this one show up or to get my hands on this one because it adds more variety to the Cubitos experience, which, I mean, honestly, Cubitos experience is packed with variety as it is, but more variety is not a bad thing with a game like this. Just more racing, more animals, more things, more dice, all that stuff. We have The Gang. The Gang is going to be a game that, honestly, I'm not pulled in by the theme of this game, I'm not pulled in by the look of this game, but I am pulled in by the gameplay of this game. I've had a chance to play this one already. This is kind of if you took poker and the crew and meshed them together, or I say more accurately, it does for poker what the crew did for trick taking. This is cooperative hand building, cooperative poker playing in which you're trying to basically be dealt a cards. So you have basically a deck of cards you're playing with, and then you have to work with other players to try to correctly predict the order of who has the winning hand. So you're slowly playing out cards, you're slowly trading hints, and then when we get to the end, you have to perfectly call what the order of best to least best hand is, or least best to best, whatever it is, but with only kind of hidden communication about how good you feel about your hand, and trying to figure it out. It is a very solid puzzle. There's some extra cards that make it a variable experience, so you're not just playing with deck of cards, so there's extra things in there, but overall, I had a chance to play this one at Origins and really enjoyed it. We have Pagan Fate of Roanoke. Pagan Fate of Roanoke is a game from Wormgold. Capstone Games picked it up. I believe it's been incredibly well received, got high praise on the Dice Tower. I never actually reviewed it on my channel, which I felt bad about, but it's a really solid game that I very much enjoy. Pagan Fate of Roanoke is a two-player game, two-player asymmetric deduction. One player plays as the witch, the other player plays as the hunter. And the witch is trying to stay hidden across the game, and the hunter is trying to, well, take out the witch. Throughout the game, players are going to be playing towards different cards in the middle, trying to get the correct amount of influence on those cards to figure out their goals, to either accomplish your ritual or hunt out the witch. It is very highly asymmetric, both players having their own decks. It has deck building in case you want to get more into that. It has got beautiful production. It is a very, very heavy and rewarding two-player asymmetric experience. Then we have Nunatak Temple of Ice, another game from Cosmos over here. This is another one I had a chance to play at Origins, and I really like this one. And to be clear, I do think this falls into a lighter class. To me, this is kind of Ticket to Ride in terms of where it's falling. It's got very satisfying gameplay as you gather cards to try to go ahead and place your various buildings down on the board to get set collection from those cards and abilities from different rows of cards. But you're also building up this ice fortress as you go, so it's got a nice visual aesthetic too, but there's also a scoring aspect of how you try to place and complete different areas on the board. So there's a lot of things to consider, but it's a very light and straightforward game as far as the actual actions, but very rewarding and I think variable enough. To me, I think this is Ticket to Ride in terms of the weight class, but more variable because you can try to go for different degrees of set collection as you gather different cards. So it's visually attractive, easy to teach, easy to play, high variability. I don't know if it's a forever game for me, but it's definitely one that I want to dive into a bunch and play more. This is Nunatak Temple of Ice, and I'm excited because it also just showed up today. We have Forest Shuffle Alpine expansion. I'm incredibly excited for this one. I love Forest Shuffle. When the extra Forest Shuffle came out, I had a chance to play that one. I really, really enjoyed that one. I've covered it on the channel. I think it's an excellent experience, and the idea of having more for this is really exciting. Although I will say to Lookout Games, on the off chance you watch this video, please make the Dragon expansion. You know that Dragon April Fool's joke you made? Please, please, please make that as a full Dragon Shuffle game, I think that would do incredibly well. Make no mistake, I love a good tree as much as anyone, but there's something fun and charming about dragons, and if you're unsure about that, just ask Stonespine Games and Wormspan and see how that has done for them. From there, we're going to move on to the second last one over here. We have Evenfall. Evenfall coming to you from DLP Games. This is one that I had a chance to play at WSBG last year, and it's been incredibly hard to get your hands on it, although my copy just showed up, and so I'm excited to dive into this one. I'm excited to have review coverage for the channel because I really liked Evenfall when I played it. I only got one game so far, so hold off. Let's see how things develop or iterate, but so far I thought it was an excellent Euro game with highly variable card play. To me, variable card play is one of the things that can make a game exciting and keep it fresh time to time. You're given a set of rules, but then the combination of cards and how they all interact is going to force you to examine and play that game differently every single time you dive into it. So this one should be available for sale at Gencon. If you've had a hard time picking it up, now's the chance to try to go ahead and get in line and get your hands on a copy, because this one was an incredibly satisfying Euro experience that I honestly, if I have my way, I might play it this weekend, but we'll see. I need to finish updating myself on the rules. And then lastly, no, not lastly, I lied. There's two more over here. First of all, there's going to be Things and Rings. Things and Rings, one of the 2 5 out of 5s I've given a game this year. I've given 2 5 out of 5 so far. Things and Rings was one of them, and Brink from Ivy Games was the other one. But Things and Rings is incredibly satisfying. It's it's my favorite all-play game. I don't think I've given a 5 out of 5 to any other game from all-play. I enjoy the games a lot, but they're usually on the lighter side and don't pull me in as much. Make no mistake, Things and Rings is a game that's on the lighter side, but it's a game of trying to get, well, things into rings. You're trying to come up with a category rules designed by Peter Hayward. You're trying to find the right deduction of where cards go, and this is a game that I've consistently pulled out with different groups and consistently have a great time every single time you play it. It consistently is one that you play 5 or 6 games in a row, so I've gotten a lot of plays of Things and Rings, and I am still far from tired from it. I love running it as the person guessing, I love running it as the mod who's trying to decide where things are go, but this is an excellent party game experience, it's my favorite all-play game, one of my favorite party games. It has been an absolute delight. I adore this game. Highly recommend picking up a copy if you have a chance to do so. And then lastly, we have Radlands. Radlands Cult of Chrome. I love Radlands, and I am incredibly excited for more Radlands content. Illustrated by Damien Maletti, as well as Manny Tremblay, put up by Roxley Games, designed by Daniel Plechnik, or I think I'm saying that correctly. But Radlands Cult of Chrome is more Radlands experience. This is going to be expansion introducing a bunch of new camps, as well as rebalanced camps from the base game. So there's a lot of content for your Radlands experience. I love Radlands, and the idea of having more Radlands, well, I can get on board with that. And that's what we have over here. That's what we have, 20 different games from this Gen Con preview list. And again, you can go through this yourself. You can go through the 178 games that are available to buy. These are just my 20 specific picks, the ones I'm excited about, either because I've played them already and think you should check them out, because they've been hard to get, and the buzz and the fact that you get them now, games like Evenfall, Comic Hunters, those have been games that have historically been hard to get your hands on, or because I'm just interested in them myself because I want to find out more about them. That's going to be your first Gen Con preview video from the Board Game Co channel. I will have more coming your way. Again, I will for sure have another one about games you can demo that I think are worth checking out, and I probably will have one in the last week or so right before Gen Con, just to give you an update on 20 games I missed talking about at Gen Con that are worth having on your radar. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video useful. If you are going to Gen Con, have a fun time. If you aren't going to Gen Con, these games will make the way in some way you can get your hands in it, some way or other eventually. And in any case, until next time, I hope you have a good one.